Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Mass Debaters Presents Flaunt Your Stuff. My name is DeAndre Robinson. This is my friend. Say hello, friend.
Hi, I am Anjanette Krum. I am a self esteem, self worth coach with my business, Arise Beautiful. And the purpose of Arise Beautiful is to help people to navigate negative past experiences that have communicated wrong messages to themselves about them. So, creating negative belief systems and that negative thinking. And so, what I do is I help for people to reprogram their thoughts to be more positive.
If anybody don't know, Angie, I'm calling you Angie for now for the rest of this. Angie is one of my close friends. I love her to death. Somebody I can really count on to talk to. I am so proud of what she's becoming and what she's doing with her business and stuff like that. So we're going to talk about her business. So first things first, tell me why this startup.
Well, I noticed in my interactions with a lot of people that, people always say hurt people. That's like a common saying. And while to me, I feel like that's a cop out, that's no excuse, I do understand the sentiment behind it. And that is that we all are walking around with hurt um, from our past experiences and just negative messages we receive throughout life about ourselves that we have internalized. And now we're walking around feeling insecure, inadequate. And so when we have interactions with others, they tend to trigger those feelings of inadequacy and we have conflict with each other. And, we just don't live the authenticity and the life that we were purposed to be living because of all of these negative messages about ourselves. So just interacting with a lot of people and just really seeing their hurt. And I feel like, as I got older, I got to see it more and more and realize that there's more in common that we have with each other in our hurt, in our past, and stuff like that than we think we do.
So, with that being said, what made you start this up? Like, I mean, I know when you just said, I mean, why you did it, but there had to be like a breaking point for you to, say, hey, this need to be done.
Yeah, so one of the things is that so going along with the story of your self-worth and feeling inadequate, so a lot of us are walking around with brokenness, right? So for me, I one of the things that I always tell people is that you're not broken. Sometimes you're just not being used properly and you're not in the right environment, right? So when you're not using something appropriately, then of course you're going to feel broken, but you're not broken. You just need a change of environment. And so for me, I was working in a prison as a counselor, and my groups were going phenomenally well. The inmates enjoyed attending my groups. I almost single handedly changed the environment of this prison. But in the prison, being bubbly and, caring about people seems to not be
It doesn't work.
the
Yeah.
culture there.
Hmm.
So, I would walk through the courtyard and the inmates would be like, Anna, right? So I was having success in my actual groups, but my supervisors, every time I got an evaluation or something, I would fail. So I failed my evaluations and I kept getting written up. Meanwhile, I'm training all the new staff coming in, so there was this real disconnect, and I was feeling like, what's happening here? Like, I'm working really hard, I'm getting good feedback from my actual, clients, but I don't know what's happening management level. So basically, I failed my last one. Like, so now at this point, I hadn't passed any of these um, group things because they would observe your group, and then they would, do this check off. And this was my third one I failed. And so the lady had told me, she was like, hey, we're supposed to suspend you without pay for failing this 3 times, but we like you, so we're not going to do that. And I was like, absolutely not. And so I quit.
Hmm.
2 days later, and I had a conversation with um, Nicole, Nicole Walters, but Nana to me. So I had a conversation with her, and she was like, "Girl, you got too much skills to just be wasting away." So she kind of just encouraged me to like step out there and to do consulting work. And so that's what I started to do. After the conversation with her, I completed a website. Like by the end of the week, I had a website. I had my business up and running, and I've been coaching ever since. And so I think it's been about 5 years now.
So, what do your coaching provide?
It provides a place for people to um, reframe and change the narrative of their life. I always say that the things that have happened to us are just details, but we are the author and we are the ones that craft what story that tells.
Mm-hmm.
And so just because you may have had these negative experiences does not mean that you're damaged. It does not mean that you're not worthy. It doesn't mean that you're inadequate. And so how do you take that and you flip it to be something that's empowering and something that's not limiting your life?
And for lack of better words, what is your success rate with this with this narrative?
It's all subjective to the
Mm-hmm.
clients, really, um, being able to, it's really hard to say what your success rate is. There's always breakthrough. There's always going to be breakthrough. There's always going to be a level of insight that my clients gain as a result of working with me. And so,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's understanding, I do a lot of talk about trauma because trauma is a major impact on some of our behaviors and a lot of our thinking patterns. So, just if it's just a mere educating them on the impact of trauma, right? That's a new awareness that they have about themselves. If they've limited the amount of negative thinking that they have, that's a win for me. So it's really all about the clients, and a lot of my clients continue to work with me long term, and so you can see the growth as they work with me, and the self-esteem, and they start launching their businesses. I've had clients go on to launch businesses and just really step out and overcome some of those fears that were holding them back.
And to obtain these services, where can one go to obtain these services?
You can find me at www.arisebeautiful.com.
Okay. Uh, Last but not least, like I said, Angie's one of my closest friends. Went to the same high school, the same boarding school, actually. Uh, a lot of people don't really realize like how that boarding school affected a lot of us, especially if you graduate from it. Um, can you? Is there any, I guess, link to what you're doing now to that boarding school?
Um, I think so. I think
Mm-hmm.
for me, like you said, we all there's that you can't attend that school and not have some type of thing.
Yeah, something like no
Some
matter
type of
what it is.
thing. And so I had to do my own work. I
Mm,
had to go to therapy. I had to deal with some of the issues that impacted me. And, I have a fairly mild story with Milton Hershey. I had an enjoyable experience there. I leveraged the opportunity very well, but there were some personal things that did affect me. Like I had to deal with abandonment because I don't
mm.
care what you say, like being sent away is still like
Sent away. You
you
damn
being
right.
sent away. So you got to process through that, and so learning that, and also to leaving that school and having to really sit down and be like, well, who are you? Like, who are you in this world? Especially growing up living between two worlds of living, family and, New York and all that, where my family's from, and then coming back to boarding school and living that life and not really being known well by someone, you
Mm.
know, that affects how you develop relationships in the future and how you see yourself. So really having to do the work myself and sit down and be like, who are you? Like, who are you trying to be in this world? And, how do you get there?
So I will say this: like one, you're right. I mean, get being sent away is just being sent away. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm not 100% sure how old you were when you got sent to the
Six.
school. So yeah, so you had a much difficult time than I did. I did because I went there when I was in 10th grade. Was I think it was 14, I think, 13 or 14.
Yes, I
And
was 6,
yeah,
and my first year there, I would now you would call that selective mutism, but
mhm.
I didn't talk to anyone. To anyone.
Well, that's what I say because it's a big culture. It's a big culture shock, culture change. Because I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's a long time ago. My first year, I threw some out the window. So I threw some out. I mean, not like two-story window, but it's out the living room window. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, but however though, it do for it being a culture shock, it condition you for some things to come. All right.
Right.
So I'm like you. I had uh, a okay time at Mount Hershey. And the main thing I take from this is the relationships I have. And while I'm at Hershey, I wouldn't know you. A couple of my best friends, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. Not even gonna lie, I wouldn't know how to talk with white people. So, uh, so I like to thank Mel Hershey for that. With that being said, is there anything else that you want anyone to take from this before we go?
I mean, overall, Arise Beautiful, the message there is that you're worthy, like worthiness, and knowing that you are enough. Matter of fact, you are more than enough, and you are and have the tools to really create for yourself the world that you want. You have more power than you think you do, and that your worth is non-negotiable. Period. Like, no matter who you're talking to, you do not have to go back and forth with anybody about your
Mm.
value.
That's
And that
that's
is a
some
place you should.
that's something that something that I am working on right now. So yeah, you're 100% right.
And so that is my greatest message to anyone that works with me is understanding that wherever your feet carries you, you belong there, and so you need to operate from that perspective.
Okay, well, this has been another episode of Nasty Bitters Presents Flaunt Your Stuff. My name is DeAndre Robinson. Say goodbye, friend.
Bye, thanks for
All right.
having me.
No problem. Thanks for coming.